Hello and welcome to yet another portal activation call with Patrick and Tamsin again. As always, I love you guys. And Drea joined us today. Amazing people. We already started to talk as always and had some funny but really good, already shifts in energy. So we already started with our portal activation before we hit recording. And one of the things we came to was that we want to wish you all Merry Quantum Christmas. So today we're going to do whatever will feel right, because that's the energy which is here. Of course, Patrick brings information about the 12/12 portal and December's energies as always. And I actually had several people asking me, is Patrick going to be on the call? I need to listen to it. I can't be on the call live, but he always brings so good information. I'm really going to listen to it. So yes, Patrick is here. And just let's dive in.
Sure, let's do it. And Merry Quantum Christmas to you, Andrea. I love it. I hope that we all get the merriest of timelines. So, thinking about the energy of today and for the next month, I was thinking first about 12/12, and it's 12/12/23, which is also kind of interesting to note. 1 2 1 2 2 3. So the code of numbers, how they make up the universe around us. And when I think about 12, it's got a 1 and a 2, and 1 and 2 add up to 3. So basic structure of 12. So 1 is that sense of the new chapter of you, of identity. And 2 is that sense of the other. I've split myself into 2 and I'm looking at myself. So that 2 is that energy in astrology of an opposition. There's something over here and then there's something here. It's also the energy of love, the energy of lovers, of two things that are coming together. The sense of a dichotomy, or looking at an apparent dichotomy or an apparent experience of separation. So in 12, we have both unity, which is 1, and we also have separation that are coming together. And then when we look at 3, 3 is the energy of harmony. And 3 really is that sense of, this flows with this, it flows easily with this. Where are things in easy resonance? When 3, I think a lot about gifts, and I think a lot about talent, and I think a lot about just when the wind is blowing at your back. In astrology, this would be where we think about trines. And that energy of a trine is really the trade winds are blowing favorably. So we have this sense of 1, 2, and 3, this sense of we're here, we're also here in relationship to someone else. And by us being here and us being here in relationship to somebody else, we are able to create harmony and able to create flow. So that's one of those things I think about over the Christmas season, when we are so much in relation with other people around us. Maybe more than any time in the year, we're expected to be out and to be in relationship with our family and with our friends, the parties, the celebrations, the smiles on the streets. Everyone talks much more. I'm not used to so much, like everyone in London, I feel like I run across is just talking to me, which is not necessarily my usual experience of walking around, but there are smiles on people's faces. There's casual chat. There's just so much to connect with. So there's that sense of how do you remain as yourself and remain grounded as you are? How do you be in relationship with other people in a way that fosters harmony? So when I think about 12, that's one of the things I think about. I also think about it as a completion number in some sense. We have 12 months of the year, and this is the 12th of those months. We also have 12 signs of the zodiac. And 12 is a great number because it's playful. You can divide it into 2 and 6. You can divide it into 3 and 4. And there is something about it that gives this round sense of completion of like, we've now got this cycle that's coming together. So this is also a chance to think about, again, like with that winding down energy of like, what are you coming back into, as this year comes to a conclusion and as we hit this number 12. It's also on a clock. I'm thinking about it. It goes kind of like 1 all the way to 12. So it is a number that we see again and again and again associated with some sort of completion, midnight, noon, which is also like 0, 0, 0, 0. So there is really that sense of we are coming back into zero. So as we go into that space, what are we consolidating around? Really that sense of how are we integrating the new us as we prepare for that new chapter. So there's bringing ourselves into harmony with ourselves, with the world around us, as we really do absorb the wisdom of this year and think about how we are becoming lighter, how we are becoming merrier, how we are becoming happier and more successful. Also interesting that we're having this portal call on the day of a new moon. Today's a new moon in Sagittarius. And Sagittarius season, I very much associate with the holidays because Sagittarius it has this wild energy. It is really the sense of going out and partying. It's like, don't just go to the bar, turn the music up, get on the bar, dance on the bar, and take off your clothes. Like this to me is like the Sagittarius, just let it all fly. Just be totally wild, like ride off into the sunset, like explore the vast horizon of the universe that is around us. And Sagittarius also has this real wonderful energy of looking for your truth and looking for faith. It gets associated certainly with the energy of the Crusades. So as always, when we're working with this energy or like the Sagittarius imprint, there are more dense vibrations that we could sit on, which would be more that sense of I'm right. And like, this is the, this is how it is. And let me show you my dogma and my faith and try to control it. When I think about that freer sense, it's, well, everything is right. So when I think about Christmas as someone who raised in a nominally Christian country, I suppose America has lots of kind of Christian law or kind of Christian thought. It's not like an established religion, but certainly it is the dominant framework under which the country was founded. And there is a lot of discussion around like, it needs to be Christmas and not the holidays. And we have to bring this back, which is the zealotry in that sense of it's this and it's nothing else. When I think about kind of a higher minded Sagittarius approach to Christmas, it's just, this is a time of miracles. Like it's also the winter solstice that we have this month, which again is, I think of almost like as our, if I think about the solar cycle versus the lunar cycle, in many ways, that's kind of like the new moon phase, and when things are dark and when things are below the surface. So this is like a solar new moon. So it is a new beginning in the middle of winter where we can't necessarily see all of the things that are growing from the seeds that we have planted. We just need to come into a place of faith and trust and enjoy what's here and celebrate. So those are things I really think about from that higher Sagittarius mind, is like Christmas is a fantastic holiday. You can celebrate it. It doesn't really matter whether, whatever your religious convictions are or not. So how can you align yourself with some of that Christ consciousness too, which is just so beautiful, the sense of unconditional love, miracles are every day, anything is possible. And we really get that messaging around the Christmas season. At least here in the UK. So I just love embracing that magic and that time without having attachment to, well, this is the only way. There will be midwinter feasts all over the world that are happening in different ways. So how do we kind of celebrate in resonance with that? And also remembering like this is summer in the Southern Hemisphere. So like at the same time, like there's this whole other picture that's happening on the other side of the globe. So how do we bring ourselves into resonance with that? And yeah, kind of offer that as a gift to the world. So yeah, that's sort of where I find myself thinking today.
Amazing, amazing. And it's interesting when you were talking about too, the old one and the new one and the integration, and we have winter here, the other half of planet has summer here, so it's everywhere around us. And actually these are quite a lot of conversations lately is about, okay, it's the end of the year. I know this is the time to celebrate everything and at the same time reflect about what happened, where I got to throughout the whole year. But at the same time, it's like, I believe you heard similar stories from your friends and clients. Like, I feel like I'm a different person from who I was at this time last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And today does have some of that ascension energy to it. I mean, it's 1 2 1 2 2 3, which is, and whenever I see those repeating sequences of numbers that are going up, it feels to me like a raising of frequency, kind of a lifting up. So I absolutely have had that sense. And there is that feeling of what am I leaving behind and how do I respect what I have left behind. And also know that, when you leave something behind, it doesn't ever really go away. It just goes into the shadow. Much like the shadow of, the middle of winter here in the Northern Hemisphere is the middle of summer in the Southern Hemisphere. And if I flew to Australia now, then this would be in the shadow. There's always something that's in the shadow. So that to me really helps me to release without judgment, and not to say like, get away, that was a terrible experience, or that was bad. Just like, oh, okay, well, that experience also exists. I just don't really identify with it anymore. Like that version of me also exists. I'm just asking him to step into the shadow. Like that version of me who, just didn't love himself as much, or who wasn't as generous, or who wasn't as prosperous. I love him and I see him and I respect him. And that's just not who I'm just going to choose to be right now. Or that same way that it might be like, oh, I'm going to put the red mug back in the cabinet and take out the green mug. Like, I'm not saying, oh, the red mug is better than the green mug. Just like, oh, this is the mug that I want to be with right now. So when I think about working with that shadow energy, which we've had a lot of integration with the shadow energy since those eclipses in Scorpio and Taurus, and then we just had the dark moon in Scorpio. So really, like over the past few years, there's been a lot of getting comfortable with the shadow. And that shadow and darkness, like there's nothing, this is the darkest time of the year in the Northern Hemisphere, and it's beautiful. And I always find it really funny that people are like, oh, it's the shortest day. I'm like, okay, but the day, like the day, what does that even mean? Also, like, and why don't we focus on it's the longest period of darkness? How amazing is it that at 4:30 I can go out and look at Jupiter? Like my kids come from, like, I pick them up from school and we walk home and I'm like, oh, there's Jupiter. And then we watch it move all the way across the sky. When there's a full moon in the sky right now, it's there for hours and hours and hours and hours. In the summer, it's like, I don't even get to see it because it doesn't show up until 11. So also that sense of the beauty of the darkness, the beauty of the unknown that we really get to experience in this kind of deep winter month.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That the beauty of the darkness and in the darkness, that's really beautiful. And it is totally connected with Quantum Christmas, the whole season.
It absolutely is.
I love it.
Yeah, everything that you said, Patrick, as ever, I was just like, yeah, obviously, yes. Oh, yeah, it's that. Oh, it's that. Oh, it's that. So everything you said was like deeply resonant. And then I was just thinking of this like really just funny thing that happened as I was driving to. So as you guys know, I'm in the middle of moving house. And so today I've come back to this house, which has really nothing much in it. And I was driving here from my beautiful new home and I was just feeling all that kind of, wow, like miracles happen. Like 6 weeks ago, I didn't even know that house existed and now I live in it. And, wow, like miracles and thinking of all that, the house really lends itself well to having people come around, like the location and the layout. And that's just something I'm really excited to do. And as I was driving home, I've been wearing Christmas clothes, like I've been wearing Christmas hats and sparkly accessories like for the last, week. And I bought the reindeer kit for my car. So I've got like the red nose and I've got the reindeer horns or antlers, and I've been playing Christmas music. And Isabella, my youngest child, and I have a favorite song, which is called Cheer. And it's all about spreading Christmas cheer. And we've been winding the windows down and playing the music really loudly. And then other people have been joining in the street. And oh, it's just been like this wonderful, blissful thing. And then as I was driving here, there's a really difficult turning where you have to join, like on a T-junction, you have to join the road. And I looked up, and I couldn't see anyone coming, and I checked again and I couldn't see anyone coming, and I pulled out and I just checked again and there was a silver car there, and I was like, oh my God, like I'm in the wrong place. And so I sort of moved over so that he could come through, and I braked, and that driver was really upset, naturally, and like really pressed the horn of their car. And then the other driver let me through. So now I was following this car, and suddenly, like that, I was enraged. I was livid. I was so angry. that where I just made a mistake, that I hadn't seen the car, that I was, you know, doing my best intention to drive safely, that this other driver had like pressed the horn of their car, and I drove really quickly up to the other car, and I was like, whoa, what are you doing, Tamsin? And that just really, it was like you spoke to that when you were speaking, Patrick, about this kind of, I was really surprised at myself that I really felt like I was just being the Christmas cheer. And then I had this just real moment of just being horrible and like, wow, you know, how dare you be like disturbing my, you know, when I'm driving, I just made a mistake. And yeah, I just found that, I found it so interesting to see that in myself. It really surprised me. But I think I can just blame it on Sagittarius, right?
Well, always great to blame. And also the moon was with Mars this morning. And Mars is definitely the planet where we see fiery, especially in a fire sign, fiery expression.
And I'm Aries.
Yeah, so that sense of getting that flash of rage, and that's something that comes out of the shadow. And then how can that anger be a gift? That's one of those things I think about, because it is really that inner fire, and how can that drive us forward? And with Mars in the same sign as this new moon and relatively close to it, that is an important question, is how do we use our inner fire in a way that is best for everyone? And what if you took that inner fire and in that moment you said, you know what? What I stand for is love and acceptance and peace. So I feel this flash of rage, and what I'm going to do is be like, you know what? Thank you. Thank you for honking the horn. Thank you for kind of like giving me this. What I'm going to offer back to you, because I'm going to stand, I'm not moving against you. I'm standing for something. I'm using this sudden influx of energy to be like, I'm turning up the music, the cheer music, I'm waving to you, and I'm actually actively making a choice to be like, you know what? You're probably having a really stressful day. You probably are feeling really upset. So what I wish for you is love. What I wish for you is peace. And it's like taking that moment to pause, to feel the emotion, to feel it come up out of the shadow, because there's always a gift in the shadow, and then to use it. And it's like when you get like a really impassioned advocate who speaks very, very fervently about how much they care about peace and love and harmony, and they do it with the martial force. They do it from a place of like divine anger, you know, that sense of like, what the fuck is going on? Like, pardon my French, like, but like, seriously, what the fuck is going on? What are you people doing? Like, how do you not remember that you love each other? Like, let me show you what love is by behaving in this way. So there's nothing wrong with it. And it totally makes cosmic sense that you would have that experience this morning.
Yeah, it was really interesting because I've been like the whole day today, I said to you earlier, Patrick, I've just been seeing red everywhere. And there was just this really red. And I was thinking it's really love and passion, and also courage, like this real thing about courage. So once I'd calmed down, I put my cruise control onto 44, and I was like, actually, that's angel energy. And just as I calmed down, I want to bring in that 44 angel energy to help me calm down and just know that I'm just now traveling down this road, like keep the Christmas music on, keep going at 44, and then it you know, it sort of like quickly dissipated. Yeah,
Just recenter yourself in it. And then also in that moment, once things have calmed down, you always have the chance to say, you know what, I'm sure that person was having a challenging day. And also for me, like giving the same compassion to yourself.
yeah.
You know, there's nothing wrong that happened. You're in the middle of moving. There's like all of these things are happening in your life. So you're doing your best, and someone is like, "Argh." Like, of course, that's a very natural reaction to feel frustrated or angry about it. So you give the compassion to yourself and to the other person you're involved with. And maybe that is some of that 1, 2, 3 energy, that kind of you were in opposition with somebody else and you had this experience. You want to bring it into harmony. And the way that you do that is through integrating it within yourself. So you got to offer it to, you know, when we split ourselves, because ultimately there is no separation. So if you're having an interaction with somebody, that person is the whole universe to you. The two of you make up the universe. So you get to actually see what shows up in that moment and then send love to both parties. I think sometimes, very often, we forget that if we're dealing with someone else, we're also dealing with ourselves. And that means that, like, if we're compassionate towards them, we also need to be compassionate towards ourselves. We can't be like, oh, okay, well, that person's having a tough day, but Tamsin could have done better. It's like, that doesn't help, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting now as well, like the way I sit, because I know that if I'm like honking my horn, it's because I'm stressed. So now if the other person is honking their horn, they're showing me how I'm stressed. And so then just before, at the beginning of the call, when we were just talking together, and Andrea was really kind of like talking about really getting present with the people that you spend time with at Christmas and really slowing down. I have been running around like a complete nutter because I'm in the middle of moving house. I have 3 children, and it's Christmas. There's a lot of different like pieces that need to be moved and things that need to be done. So yeah, it's just helping me see that I really have just been running, and that like, it's like, slow down, like, which lane are you in?
Yeah. I also just love that, like, the way, I mean, I can't not notice it every time, that presents, we talk about being present, and then this is what we give each other. Truly, we give each other presents. You know, these physical, it's the same word, at least in English. It just really, really strikes me again and again and again that there is that chance every time we see that. I'm giving someone a present. I'm giving someone presents. I'm receiving presents.
Yeah, yeah. And at the same time, we said at the beginning that December is all about activating love in it's all in all ways, in all dimensions, in all forms. And this is exactly what you are talking about now. Love yourself, love the other driver. Just share the love.
Yeah. Well, as Tamsin often says, be the love.
Be the love. Yeah,
Just
we
be
are
love.
love. And that's very beautiful. The affirmation, Drea, which you shared with us at the beginning.
Mm.
That's exactly it. Can you read it?
Yeah, so I am worthy of good things and I am attracting the life of my dreams. So yeah, I think we touched on a bit about compassion, and I think these you know, when we do get into those dark spaces, or you know, there's that shadow side of us that comes, you know, to light, I think that's where compassion is so important. It's so important that we're able to just drop in and say, what is really going on here for me? What's going on here for me? And when we get the chance, because obviously when we're on the road driving, that's not really possible. But you know, what happened there? You know, how can I just look at this without any judgment of myself, but just really to know that maybe there's stuff I'm going through at the moment, why I've reacted in this way, and then really showing us that ourselves that care and that love, and then we can then have that kind of same response to others. Is when we can't be compassionate towards ourselves, we find that we really hold on to that anger, I think. But if we can allow ourselves to really just drop in and say, what's happening here for me? How am I feeling today? You know, how am I really feeling today? And just, you know, really embracing ourselves and showing ourselves that we are listening to ourselves, we're listening to our bodies, we're listening to our anger, we're saying to our anger, okay, you showed up. Okay, what's going on? You know, and then we can really say to ourselves, you know, yeah, anger, just as much as I love that side of me, I love that side of me as well. And I can embrace it all. I can, you know, I can show it that love, and then I can give that back out to other people, because believe it or not, that is a gift in itself, because there's so many people out there who are so hard on themselves when they do things that they deem as maybe wrong or not what they should do. And you know, they can beat themselves up almost, but we take it for granted. It can be a gift when we say to ourselves, actually, I'm going to just check in with myself and see how I am, how am I feeling, because it can be quite scary as well when you are on the road and you're trying to do the right thing, and you see a car coming or whatever, and you know, and people just honking and bibbing, and it can be quite alarming, especially if you're sort of strolling along in a good mood as well. So you know, these things, when they happen, they can be triggering. So it's just yeah, I think you said it, Patrick. It is just about really having that compassion, to say to ourselves, yeah, I matter in this situation, and now I can give that love out to others because I actually gave myself that time and space.
Yeah, and also knowing that whatever is happening outside of myself is just a reflection of what is happening inside myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really just yeah, game changing to say, well, hang on a sec, like that's really interesting. Why have I had this scenario happen now where this has happened? That wasn't what I was expecting or what I thought I wanted or whatever.
Yeah.
It immediately moves you from a kind of like victim blame, like, oh, well, life's really difficult, to, okay, what's really going on? Okay, that's just taking care of yourself, like asking, like you say, asking yourself, like, what's really going on? Why am I presenting myself ultimately with this situation? So, and then we get more grounded and present, and that's really the greatest gift we can give ourselves and anyone else. It's just,
yeah, absolutely.
although I'm not knocking like really amazing gifts from shops like Liberty. No,
they work too. They work too. Yeah.
Well,
You know,
listen,
yeah.
absolutely. We all get a little bit of luxury. I really like too what you said about not being hard on ourselves. I think that's so important. That sort of that internally directed anger or criticism, which I find when I get into that space, it's like a thinking loop, because then I'll start being hard on myself or being hard on myself. Like I know that I'm not supposed to be hard on myself. And why am I being hard on myself? And it's like a hall of mirrors. And I'm being hard on myself or being hard on myself or being hard on myself. And it just doesn't ever stop until I really kind of let it all melt into that ocean of compassion, which is always like just over that hill right there, like just beyond the view. And as soon as I sort of like let myself get into that space, then it's sort of that sense of, okay, but I know that I'm always doing my best. And I know that if I could do better, that I would do better. I know that if I could have done better in that moment, I would have done better. I'm always doing the best that I can. And I like to have that as a foundational belief that we're all doing the best that we can. And that gives me that ability to come back to it. And also, there are times when I totally forget about that belief, which is my ocean of compassion. And I'm like really hard on myself for, not doing something to the standards that I set for no apparent reason.
Yeah. I think it's good. But then the good thing is that it sounds like you've got that self-awareness. So, and that's the key, isn't it? It's almost like we become the observer of ourselves, and we're able to see more clearly. We have that awareness to say, oh yes, at this point I'm being more hard on myself, and why am I being hard on myself at this point? And what do I need? What do I need to kind of be able to let that go? And sometimes it is just acknowledging what it is you're feeling in that particular point. And I think for me, sometimes that's driven by a little bit of fear of just not being good enough, fear of just not getting it right, or thinking I have to get everything right all the time. So I think that's when the love comes in, because we all know that love kind of drives that fear away. So if you can really just literally drown out that fear with just more love, I think it makes it easier to let go of those times when we can just feel that we have to get this right or have to do things this way. But if we can have some awareness, we can sort of say to ourselves, that fear, we can just yep, I see you. I see you there, Freya, but you've got to go. Yeah, get out. Yeah.
Sorry, Drea, did you finish what you were saying?
Yeah.
It's when you were talking, I was just thinking as well that it's really the difference between like the mind or the mental side and the emotional and the heart side. It's like I'm having all these looping negative thoughts, or I'm being hard on myself. That is not something that happens in the heart. The heart is not like, let's be hard on Tamsin, like let's beat her up. That's just like brain activity and mind and thought. So a lot of what we're talking about here is getting into the heart space, or put in a more straightforward way, like you're saying, noticing how you're feeling on a really basic level, to just like be aware of how you feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was also just musing, I just wrote it down. I feel like you've just defined quantum Christmas and my quantum Christmas wish, which is for all of us to be the loving observer of ourselves this Christmas.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe also get up on the bar
And get lots of nice presents.
and get some nice presents too.
I was just thinking they could put the presents under the bar, and then we could all sit really close with each other and be present with each other at the bar with the presents.
That can work.
Let's meet at Coyote Ugly.
And with that, I think we are closing today's call. Wishing everyone Merry Quantum Christmas, and looking forward to see you on the 1st of January for our next portal activation call. And of course, 15th of January, we're starting our Happy and Successful Summit, where you will see all of us and much, 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 much more beautiful, amazing, great people. So, Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas!